Live from the basement of Liege's house, it's Liege of Games. I don't know. Hey, it's Chris. Let's do this. So, it's almost July. It's practically July. It probably is July by the time this is actually getting posted, so, we'll go with it. What are the Kickstarter crowdfunder games that you need to know that are of note, that are going to be coming out this month, that are going to be launching, that, is going to really be testing your wallet from that side of things? I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of the ones that are on my radar as ones to watch for, and we'll just kind of go from there. If you're interested, later this week as well, maybe beginning of next week, we'll see what happens. We will also have games for like the next, let's do the next quarter. 6 months is just a little bit too much, too widely encapsulating. You'd be watching me talk for way too long, and it's just nicer to break it down in small chunks. So there will inevitably be a couple on this list that are going to be on that list as well, but that's going to be more encompassing the next 3 months, July, August, and September. So we'll have that. I've also got my indie games of the past 6 months that were my top 10 picks of campaigns that I enjoyed and I thought were notable. And, whatever else comes up. A couple reviews pending in the sidelines, so whatever. Okay, let's do this. July. What are you supposed to know? Let's go. Now, first up, on July 7th, I'm going to go slightly out of order here, but this is Soul Raiders from Marc-Andre, and you may know him from Splendor. Now, this is, as you can see, a far departure from Splendor. This artwork is probably some of the best artwork I have seen around lately, period. This is a story-driven, cooperative 1 to 4 player game. They're calling this a fast-paced adventure, just run around and deal with stuff sort of game. And you are these soul raiders whose job is to protect sort of the afterlife, the souls being able to go into the next world. You are also trying to defend from evil souls trying to come back into this world. It is very much the description on the Board Game Geek page akin to something I would think of as a sandbox. Now, they say it's also very much like a novel in the sense that there are going to be chapters, there are going to be sessions that you are going to progress through. I mean, you're going to be just doing what you would expect in this type of game. Collecting information, collecting treasure, powering up, completing quests. Now, it is going to be miniature based, even though it is going to be, this move around, cooperative, simultaneous play in a location. They're going to have various cards here, but you can see that this, as they mentioned, is very streamlined. They want this to be more narrative based and not feel like a slog with a few jots of text in between. And so you can see just from the cards here that they are very, very straightforward. Now, hopefully we've got some standee presence as well, but you can see just in the background here, look at this map, because there are going to be various locations in an area that you can go and explore, and that's what you're going to be doing with that simultaneous play. They're very clear that there are multiple ways to end a chapter, and so the replayability, depending on where you go, how you go, what paths you would literally take, can give you a varied outcome. They describe it non-linearly, and you can even fail chapters depending on what the circumstances are. But what happens in these chapters, in these books, if you will, I'll refer to it as, is there are multiple chapters to a session or a overarching progression, but if you fail the last one, then you have to restart the whole thing. Again, some people might be happy with that, some people might be very displeased with that. I think especially some of the bigger vocalization that was about something very similar to this, Bloodborne, where a few critics did not like that aspect of things, where if you failed, you had to go back several chapters and redo the whole thing. So again, is this going to change things if you know that it's more narrative, it's more adventure, more explore, more quest driven rather than, a slog of combat, where Bloodborne is definitely more of that for, rightly so reasons. Now again, what else does it entail? How many chapters or books are we looking at for this type of game? What is the overarching story? What is the price point going to be? Miniature standees, both, either. What is the going to look like? I mean, we have no information otherwise in terms of that, I don't think. So it's going to be really interesting to see. This one is definitely probably near the top of my list, even though there are a lot of other amazing things on this list for July. And when I tell you that July is going to be banging, wait until you watch the rest of this video. But that's Soul Raiders. It's launching on the 7th. So we're going to take a step back, and this is launching on July 6th. This is Platformer, the next game coming out from Awakened Realms Light on Gamefound. And yes, there are going to be a lot of things this month, this video, Gamefound related, because with that email from previously in this month, they are launching things on successive weeks, and these are all big name projects, I think, to get a lot more eyes over there. And this is the first of them, Platformer. This is very much an Awakened Realms Light style of game where you are, in case you missed my other video summarizing that, 2 to 4 players, jumping around, competitive gameplay, going between these platforms, fighting monsters, fighting each other, and you have a gravity element that's going to be able to knock yourself or other players, characters, whatever, from one platform to the other. And there's going to be consequences for that. It's not just going to be like, oops, I fell. It's going to be, oops, I fell and, took damage, right? And so this reminds me of sort of what I'm hoping, or what I thought Masmora was, is just something lighter with the family, a little bit quicker setup, takedown from a light dungeon crawl-esque experience without so much seriousness, with a little bit of take that, where it also doesn't feel like, if you get ganged up on, it's the end of the world. And I actually am getting a copy of this, so I'm going to put a video out on this. It's just going to be it won't be before, I don't think, the start of this campaign, hopefully, but it should be right around the start of this campaign, towards the beginning. So we'll see where this goes. But here is the gravity mechanic itself, because, like I said, you get pushed down. And then bad encounters. Why not push a monster onto your enemies? And random map, totally generated. Again, depending on, if you like that sort of thing or not. Again, adding the replayability. And then there is a boss at the end. So you are trying to defeat the boss first. But, you got to be able to, regardless of if you're the one that gets there first. So, getting your gear, all the crazy stuff, the high replayability there that we mentioned, small miniatures, again, Awakened Realm side of things on the light side of things. So this is in line with what I have seen the other Awakened Realms Light. And so the question is just going to be, does it offer the full value, the full experience in a light package? And what are the pros and cons? What is the price point going to be, knowing that you're getting these little chibi guys? So we'll have to see. I'll let you know my first-hand experience, hopefully. And that's launching on the 6th. Now, we're going to go back and forth here a little bit, because I'm trying to do these in somewhat succession of actual date of launching. And this is... Now, I was going to mix this up, but I really thought about this one. It's not the somewhat anticipated. It is the On Mars expansion, the somewhat cooperative expansion, because it is highly anticipated. On Mars is a very, very heavy worker placement Euro style game. It is ranked super high. I think it's like 56th overall right now on Board Game Geek. I know that people that like this, heavy end of things really, really dig this game. And this is the Alien Invasion expansion. I believe it got pushed back originally. It was supposed to be towards the beginning of the year, and now it's going to be on the 15th of July. And it brings with it several different ways of playing. And it's going to be interesting to see, especially on the heavier side of things, are people going to be interested in all of these ways that you're going to be playing? Because you have a 1 versus all, which again doesn't allow for, a lower player count of 1 person, but you also have the solo mode, you have a competitive mode, like you're used to, and then you also have a cooperative mode, because aliens are invading. The conspiracy theorists were right. And it's from the Board Game Geek description. Anyway. And so the question is just going to be, what does it bring? How does it accomplish these things? And I'm not any expert on this whatsoever. You know that I am not on the heavier side of things, but I appreciate quality. And from everything I read, everything I hear, this is that. Now, I think these meeples are awesome. Let me just be very clear. The aliens, the little robot tech dudes, the green aliens. I mean, it's just cool. So, I mean, clearly, I have no clue what any of this stuff is on this picture, but for those of you more familiar with it, I mean, it looks like it's just adding more of a modularity system. So it's not going to be adding, like, hopefully a ton of stuff, because I think the game itself, especially the base game alone, is already complex enough. And again, the question is going to be, for getting all 4 of these modules, what is the price point going to be? And I don't think it's going to be one of those situations, or at least I would be surprised if it was one of those situations where you could pick and choose which module you want. I would assume it's like all in one, and you just get the expansion and everything's included. Not like, well, I kind of want the solo module expansion and I want the cooperative module expansion, but I don't want the other two. I don't think, in my experience, these are all usually bundled as one. Because I'm guessing that also some of these elements are going to have significant crossover between them, and you're not going to separate them out depending on that. So, anyway. They also talk about the fact that there's going to be 4 separate ways to establish, or new ways to establish colonies on Mars, and they describe each of these modules more as chapters. So, again, what that actually entails, I'll leave that up for you on Mars fans to debate, but it's going to raise a bunch of money, it's going to get a bunch of eyes, and it's going to launch on the 15th. So we're going to hop back over to Gamefound here. And the one thing I will say is I do like this feature on Gamefound, just as a complete side note. Launching on the 20th is Chronicles of Drunagor, the Age of Darkness Apocalypse expansion. 16 new adventures that you're going to be unraveling, going further into Drunagor's culture and mythology to enhance the previous campaign experience and face the conclusion of the narrative. So I guess I'm not as familiar with the base game, but didn't really have a full conclusion, I guess. So, reprint, I mean, yeah, this thing has been hard to get on the secondary market. People have jacked up the prices significantly. It's been one of those because it's just not widely available. And, I mean, you can see all of the stuff that you're getting there. That is a ton and ton of content. They're offering a full reprint. The entire first campaign, you can get it here as well. Free miniature on launch day. Otherwise, it's $13 later. And it's a fully cooperative, 3D schemed tactical combat dungeon crawl from anywhere from 1 to 5 players. A couple great quotes here from a lot of people. And again, it's just a ton of stuff. And I saw this one the first time around, and I was a little bit concerned about the 3D element. And I just, it didn't seem stand out to me the first time, but people are really, really digging it. The story mode, everything else that goes along with it. Even the 3D, sort of elevation and use there. So different goals to obtain what you want to do. Again, going through all of what you're getting. The action cube system is the difference in this game of how you're playing it. And I just like the look of it in general. This is one is really going to compete for my money at, all of these. I mean, this is going to be potentially a very, very expensive month for me too. And it's just really nice to see new stuff being out there. Standalone adventure or full campaign, hero, class, action cubes, dungeon roll. So you get to really customize your hero, which is great. Because too many of these nowadays, you really get one character and you sort of have that character, but you can't necessarily customize it as much as you want. Multiple doors of the same room, QR system. Now, again, if you like that sort of thing, great. If you don't, 3 difficulties, resource management, narrative in terms of, the campaign itself. And then final round is darkness. So how the bad guy is doing stuff. So what are you getting new here? Massive expansion, 16 adventures, new mechanics, not standalone though. So you're going to need the core. So it's not one of those. And okay, there you go. It runs through a little bit of everything what you're having. Looks like you've got 5 enemies right here that I can make out. A little bit of everything else. Boss standees. Miniatures of the 4 horsemen bosses are not included though. Those are going to be sold separately. Stretch goals. Okay. Going to offer some options there, it looks like. New monster AI. Evolve your hero further. More streamlined darkness. Okay. So far so good. This is new content as well. Add-ons. Okay, the hero pack number 1. So more additional heroes then, I guess, that are in the base game. Completionist in me is hating this already. And community feedback, review, video. Okay, what else do I need to know? Okay, so here are these miniatures. Holy cow, 164 millimeters. That is massive. That looks, well, I don't really like that one, but those are really super detailed. Those are really super cool looking. And more surprises. So they're not even showing you them all right now. That's cool. Little teaser there. So Anyway, that's Chronicles of Drunagor, the new stuff. If you want to check out the Kickstarter page, I'll try and throw that in the comment section below for more of the original base game stuff. But you can see why it's gotten all the flavor and the hotness. And it'll just be interesting to see how this changes and how does it compare to the first time around? Are people looking for more? Are people interested in more? I mean, you know it's going to raise, just by the sheer fact that it's doing a full reprint, it's going to get a lot of people that can't get it right now, like me, who don't want to pay secondary market prices if you can even find secondary markets. So that's Chronicles of Drunagor. It's launching on the 20th. So we'll do both of these because they're both launching on the same day, back to back. Masters of the Universe, The Fields of Eternia, the Archon Studios version, the one that is only in Europe. And the CMON one has just been announced as well. That one's going to be in September. Now, very similar in terms of the timing difference between Primal and Monster Hunter, in terms of this Masters of the Universe versus CMON. So, you know, enough that the campaign's going to be done, enough that, you know, is there going to be reaction? Is there going to be anything based on what they see here or they don't? So anything interesting, but it's going to be, you know, eyes on. So here you can kind of see, now, as I covered in the Gamefound breakdown announcement when this was announced, there's not a whole lot of information. So hopefully we get more information in the next 4 weeks. But I mean, this is the page right here. 1 to 6 players, 90 to 180 minutes. It's adventure-driven strategy, tactics, deck building, solo, friends, heroes, villains. That's about it. That's about all we know from that side of things. Now, obviously, it looks like you have a lot of different areas here on the map. Are you going to be collecting cards from those? Are you going to be matching symbols? You're going to be rolling dice. I mean, it looks more like almost an area control style game with the miniatures going around. So, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys are even going to have access to this because, I mean, in the US, we can't even order it right now. So you'd have to get it on the secondary market, having someone import it for you. But, I mean, again, I'm still going to cover it because I know there's a lot of non-US people, Europe people. I mean, are there? I mean, 3,200 of you so far total. I mean, are you guys, how many of you are guys from Europe? Anyway, either way, I'm going to cover it because I think it's of note, and let's talk about it because it's in the scene and it's in our hobby, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can do with this because this doesn't look like a lot of other maps I've seen in the past. So I want to see. Show me what you can do, Archon. I know there's been some issues with Archon in the past in terms of some of their other projects and some of the development and the, you know, the end products, but I'm always for second chances. So let's see, prove it to me with this one. What's going to happen? So that's Masters of the Universe, Fields of Eternia. That is launching on the 27th. Also launching on the 27th is Lucky Duck Games' next one, Divinus. And this one, again, looks unfortunately way too good for me, and I hate to say that, but this is a battle between Nordic and Greek gods, and you as a demigod are trying to vie for their attention and the power enough to ascend onto the pantheon with them. And this is along the lines of the other Lucky Duck games. This is a hybrid. They're using the app-based system, and say what you will about that, say how you feel about it, it is here to stay, and they are using it across their properties. And for my own personal taste, very success, but I know a lot of people really love this. It's using a legacy gameplay with a campaign, and the thing I'm really interested about Divinus is it's adding more in terms of layering how you go as you go. As it says here, you are taking the role of a demigod. We talked about that. Tile laying, dice manipulation, permanent changes of a legacy game with the app. And so that's going to be the question. You're going to have sort of these chapters or these campaign parts that are going to slowly add in terms of things like the zombie kids or the zombie teens evolution, where, okay, starts off simple. I'm going to add this layer, this nuance of this new good guy or bad guy. I'm going to add this new layer of this mechanic or this power. I'm going to add. And that is what this is going for. And it looks tremendous from that side of things. I can't wait to see how it incorporates. Now, again, as with the 2 games listed here that they show, you know, I was a fan of this one, Destiny's. I was not nearly as much a fan of Chronicles of Crime, partially because of how the app usage differed between the two, partially because of the game nature of them both in the first place. Like, I am not a huge crime-solving, you know, escape room type of person. I am more of the explore, adventure, quest level up side of things, and that's what Destiny's is as well. And the app is not burdensome in that game. So I liked it. I really liked it. But that is it. That's all that's out there right now. I know just from following various groups online, social media, a couple of the big guys are going to have copies. So again, like with all this stuff, there's going to be plenty of video, and it's just going to see, okay, what is the price going to be again? How much, expansions are going to be on the initial day of launch? How does that change with the app side of things as well? So I have no idea any of that stuff, but I'm following along just as much, and I can't wait to see. So that's Divinus. Last up here, launching on the 28th, and the very next day, going back over to Kickstarter, this is Architects of the West Kingdom, the newest expansion, Works of Wonder. In case Tomb Saga and the Age of Artisans wasn't enough, here is another expansion for this very, very, again, highly rated game. Garfield Games, Shem Phillips. I mean, I'm assuming just more of the goodness that people love about this game in the first place. Extension is going to be added to the main board of a consequence construction type nature. It is keeping track of your influence while you are trying to build the 5 wonders. You are trying to gain said influence from the new princess, as well as keeping track of the profit that you're getting alongside of things. The other interesting aspect of this is it says it's also adding a new solo mode that you can play against 6 new unique opponents. Again, this is a very well thought of worker placement drafting style of game. Are people looking for another layer to this game? Are they not? I have no idea, but it seems like if it's just adding one sideboard, I mean, that seems like a good thing without adding too much, again, overhead complexity that I always worry about with the more side of things, whatever it may be. But that is launching on the 28th. We'll throw 2 more bonus ones in there just for the sake of doing it. 1, a personal favorite of mine. 2, an IP that some people may be familiar with. One that I've got on my personal radar is called Paint the Roses, with the Alice in Wonderland theme literally dripping off of it. So what is this game? You are playing as the royal gardeners in this cooperative game, trying to stay one step ahead of the queen's ever-changing whims, as you may know from the story in the first place. You are her gardeners trying to get her garden to her liking on an ongoing, rolling, changing basis. Now, this is the interesting aspect. It is a 2 to 5 player cooperative deduction game that is going to be very tactical in nature in order to stay one step ahead of her and to, well, as she says, keep your head. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking one of these cards, playing it, trying to give information to your teammates so that they can figure out what's on this card, and they're going to be giving you information on what's on their card. And if you can successfully do that, then you stay ahead of the queen. And if you can't, then she catches up to you on this board, and if she passes you, then you lose. Very interesting aspect. Very cool style of game. It's sort of this indie under the radar. I believe it's been a print and play. It's been on the line to play it on one of the various tabletop simulator things. But it's been on my radar for a couple of years, and I believe it's supposed to launch sometime in July, but I don't have a date for you. But I wanted to mention it because I think it's cool. And the last one is based on the IP, the Rat Queens, the comic series. And I know a lot of people are familiar with it from that side of things. I'm personally not, but I thought I'd give it a toss out and a shout as well, just to let people know. This one is a 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 if you have the expansion, it says, cooperative dungeon crawl-esque style games from Deepwater Games. It's going to be launching on the 13th. You are playing as one of these rat queens trying to save the kingdom from destruction. They describe them as asymmetric in terms of their powers and their abilities. They mention in the Board Game Geek description that combat is going to be very simplified RPG-esque. So take that for what you will. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes, if you're rolling a d20, I know people feel mixed about that as well. Upgrade your character, meet the party's needs. It says the first half of the game is going to be just doing that to deal with the darkness, the end side of things at the end of the game. And it's going to have some sort of building aspect, it appears. As they say, you're going to be upgrading your ability deck. So it'd be interesting to see how that deck functions and is featured when it actually comes out. There's not a whole lot of other information. Deepwater Games said that there are going to be people that are going to have advanced copies. I guarantee that those people have them by now. So we'll see what happens when it launches, but it's launching on the 13th. So thought I'd give it a shout out. Okay, that's it. Those are the big ones of note. Obviously, there's a whole ton of other stuff that I didn't mention. There's a whole ton of stuff that always comes up that's surprising. But that is a lot of money in a nutshell. And let me be very clear. Some of those games are at the very end of July. The other couple that are launching on Gamefound are like towards the beginning of August with like 11 and Land of Galzir and Aridia. That's Kickstarter though. But those are 3 huge other massive names. So when I said that June, the end of June is going to be horrible and July is just going to get worse and August, even the beginning of August is going to be the same. Yeah, it's going to get, really pricey, folks, if you want any of these big name stuff. Because again, some of those things are not going to be anywhere near under 3 digits. Even a couple notches even above potentially, depending on how much you want. So again, there you go. That's the roundup. Like I mentioned at the beginning, plenty of other stuff coming up. I'm not going to waste your time repeating it. If you like this, if you're interested, click a comment, subscribe, whatever you like. I just thank you for viewing it in the first place. So, as always, have a great day. Stay classy. I'll see you around.